and welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is super talented Tara Jackson. Thank you for coming to the Sanctuary.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm surviving one day at a time.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Especially being that what you do has pretty much shut down for a year now, right?
Yep.
What was the last thing you worked on?
Well, technically the last thing I worked on was in December, so not so far ago. The last like in theater thing, I did a reading workshop of The Wizard of Oz with Alberta Theater Projects. So that was the last thing I did like in a theater. And before that, I hadn't done anything in-house since February of 2020. So
What did you do in
it's
February?
been The Invisible with Catalyst Theater in Edmonton.
Mm, mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's been COVID has been scary for one,
Yep.
eye-opening
Yep.
and
Yep.
just shocking, you know, because
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it also shows how fragile humanity is.
Absolutely. And stupid. Oh God. Like, it's just like, I can't believe some of the. It's not that I can't believe it. It's just that I'm never shocked, I guess. I'm just disappointed in humans. It's like, I feel like Alberta is like the comment section of the internet, and it's just like a hot fucking mess all the time. It's so, like, don't read the comments, don't look at Alberta because we're a disaster.
That is like where you grew up, right?
Yeah, born and raised.
How was it like for you growing up there?
I mean, it was fine to grow up here, I guess. I don't think I was overly aware of. Okay, let me not say that. There were times where I was overly aware of my blackness, and there were times where I was not so aware. I think I had a good group of people around me generally, but, you know, race was always a thing. Like, it was often, I have an older brother, and it was often he and I were the only black kids until like junior high, and then there was maybe like two others, and then in high school there was maybe like five or six others. So there wasn't a lot of people who looked like me. Most of my friends didn't look like me, didn't have the same experiences as me, which was fine, like I said. But I think the older I got, the more I started to notice. But as far as like growing up here, like I had a lovely childhood, great home, great family, dinner together every night, lots of fun, all the activities that a kid could want to do. Like, yeah. So as
Mm.
far as that, it was great.
Yeah, you said as you were growing up, you started to notice some things. What are some of the things you noticed?
Just like small, I often say to people, like the racism here in Alberta, and I'll speak for Calgary specifically in my experience only, is that it's very subtle. So it's not that somebody is going to outright call you the N word, although that's happened. It's more so like I used to serve, like be a server at a restaurant, and it was like people didn't want to sit in my section, or it was like hesitance to hire me for a job, or just little things like that, more so than like outright blatant racism, which I almost prefer because if you're going to be a racist, I'd rather you like say it with your chest. Like don't
Yeah,
pretend you like me, don't pretend. So yeah, that's kind of what I find here. And now in COVID, things are a bit different. I think the racists are just like living their best life because they're like, fuck it, like I can say what I want. Um, so it's a whole new adventure. Although I don't go anywhere, so I don't really have to deal with it.
yeah.
It's great.
I also think one thing that happened was like the past 4 years in the U.S. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of
Yeah.
made everyone that was like keeping what they were saying in their homes to actually come out right and say it. And
Sure.
I'm like you too, I prefer you just say it, so kind of at least I know what I'm dealing with than, those subtle
Right.
ones. I think the tiny, it's there, but it's not there ones are even more hurtful. Because
Hmm.
it's when you sit back and think of it like, oh shit, that's what that person was trying to say or do. But,
Totally.
let's go talking about you growing up. Like, did you always want to
Hmm.
act? Or like be in the theater?
No.
No?
No, no,
Wow.
definitely not. I always sang. Like I always wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be Whitney Houston, still do. I just like theater came very late to me. I wasn't a theater kid. I wasn't singing theater. I wasn't seeing theater. It's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't know. I don't think I knew that it could be a career. I don't think I knew that it was something I could do or wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, my first experience kind of with musical theater was not till my last semester in college when I
Oh.
ended up doing Rent. And I went to music school, not theater school. So I auditioned for Rent because I've always loved Rent and I booked it. And I think that's when the theater bug bit me. And I was like, oh, I grew up singing. I danced competitively. I can do all of this kind of together in one thing. Why not? And I kind of just fell in love from there. And then it's just kind of worked out.
Did you say you dance competitively?
Yeah, I did. I was a dancer. My mom was a dancer, so she put me in dance at 3, and it was one of those things where it's like you just do the thing
What
until
type of
you don't
dance
want
did
to
you do?
anymore. I started out with ballet and tap and jazz, like the essential ones. I dropped ballet because I hated it. Like I
What do you
hated
hate
it.
about it?
I was 3, so it was just like I don't know. I just didn't like it. Like it was too. I think it was too slow for me.
Yeah.
Love tap. Like that was my home. Definitely tap, jazz, hip hop. Yeah, and then I kind of went back and forth. Like I quit dance for a little bit to do sports because I was also an athlete growing up and I loved soccer. So I was like, I gotta pick. I'm gonna do soccer. And then I went back to dance and then I competitively danced for 3 years and then I just quit altogether. So I was like, I'm gonna do the music thing. I don't care about dance so much.
And like with the singing thing, did you before school, before like Berkeley, did
Mhm.
you get any singing training anywhere?
Yeah. So I took singing lessons my whole like upbringing. So from the time I was 7 through to the end of high school, so when I was 17, I was with the same teacher. And she wasn't like a Royal Conservatory teacher, like she wasn't a classical teacher, very contemporary. Um, yeah, but I learned everything I know from her. I mean, until I went to school.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was more of like a hobby. It was just like I love to sing. I would do recitals with her, and then I did a few competitions, which was always fun. But I wasn't serious. Like it was just something I loved to do. I
Hmm.
wasn't super like serious about pursuing a career in music.
And then when you finished high school, did you know you wanted to go to Berkeley? How did that even happen?
Yeah, so I had won a competition in 2005 or 2006. I can't remember. Some like Calgary Junior Idol competition. I won it, and one of the prizes was to record with this local band. One of the guys in the local band was like, "Oh, you should think about music school. Like, there's Selkirk College in BC, which is like a sister program, or was at the time, of Berkeley, which is in Boston." And I had never heard of this before. I was like, I don't like, I'm looking at like Harvard and other schools. Like, I'm not looking at music school. So he kind of put the bug in my ear. I talked to my voice teacher about it. She was like, yeah, if you want to do it, do it. Talked to my parents about it. And at the time, they weren't auditioning in Canada. So the closest place to audition for me was in San Francisco. Went there, auditioned, and then, like, however many months later, I got the email being like, welcome to the school. And I was like,
Do you remember how your audition went?
yeah, I was so nervous, like so nervous. And not at the fact that I had to sing in front of people, because that never made me nervous, but it was just like, I really want to go to this school and I
Hmm.
really want to get in. And I was kind of, up until that point, I had kind of for a few years I had like won competition, so I was kind of like used to winning in a way, and I was just like, okay, if I don't win this, if I don't get this audition, I'm gonna feel like so terrible or feel like I
Oh,
can't do this. So I think I put a lot of pressure on myself, and it
mm,
wasn't from like an ego standpoint. I think it was just like I just really, really wanted this.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I walked into the room and we did a little bit of improv, we did a little bit of call and response, and then you had like prepared pieces, and I sang I Surrender, Celine Dion, because Canada, hello. And it was great. Like I had a great time. I walked out feeling good. I had no idea whether I'd gotten in or not, but it was cool. It was fun to go to San Francisco and like do the thing. And then months
Yeah.
later, I got the email and was like, "Yes, we did it! Now how are we gonna pay for it?"
Yeah, cause like I mean, first off, it isn't Canadian dollars anymore, right?
No, 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 sir. No, sir. And you pay more if you're an international student, which Canadians are considered international, even though we're on the same
Yeah,
continent.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, it was very expensive. Thanks,
yeah.
mom and dad. Thank you, like a little bit, Canadian government. But yeah, like I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm very glad I went there. So.
How many years were you there, and how was that experience?
So it's a 4-year program, but I graduated in three, and I stayed there though until my fourth year was up. Like I walked with my class and everything, even though I had graduated like 6 months prior, just because
Mm,
all my friends and everything.
mm.
But
What
yeah,
would a
it's good.
typical day in a school be like?
I mean, I assume it's, kind of the same as any other school. You have your classes, so like you register at the beginning of the semester, and depending on how many credits you're taking, well, I think a full load was like I can't remember, like 6 or 7 credits. I don't know. And then, some of the classes are longer, and there was still like the accredited classes, and it's accredited institution, right? So you have to take your art history or your English or whatever the hell to complete your bachelor degree.
Hmm.
So yeah, like art history was a 3-hour class once a week, but 3 hours, and either early
Ooh,
in the morning or late at night. It was just
oh my
like,
God.
oh, please, no. Like I just want to sing. And then there was lots of fun classes, right? There was like lots of labs and lots of different, take a jazz class, take a guitar class, take a whatever class. Like there was lots of pick and choose depending on your major, I'll say.
Mm. Was any standout class for you?
Looking back on it, not necessarily. I think a lot of the labs where I got to actually like use my instrument, I think were really stuck out for me, just because that's really what I wanted to do, was like learn different types of singing and sing all the time. So
Hmm.
that, and then I'll also say like our private lessons. So private lessons with your teacher were obviously very monumental in kind of shaping the singer that I am now. So I think those were
Mm,
super impactful for me.
mm, mm. Wow.
Hmm.
You finished the 4 years there because you stayed after, even though you graduated 6 months earlier.
Hmm.
And what was the next thing you did?
I came home because, well, my OPT, so after school, you can get an OPT visa where you can work in your field for a year and you can reapply and reapply. So I applied for my OPT after I graduated in December, and I was approved. But I couldn't like find a job really in just music. Like I had done wedding singing and GB band stuff all throughout college, and that was super profitable, but mostly from like May to October. So if you didn't have a lot of gigs in the winter, I couldn't make enough money and justify staying there. So it was like, okay. So come August, I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it through the winter here. I got to go
Mm,
home. So I came home, and there was this little theater, not, I hesitate to say theater company, a little dinner theater place. They're not. Like, honestly, they're a joke. They're a literal joke. So I'm just not even gonna, not even gonna go there. But they gave me a shot. I auditioned and they wrote a show and I was a part of it. And some of the people that I met in the show were amazing and we're still great friends today. But that was kind of my shot. And then from there, it just kind of rolled on. Other people came to see me. I got auditions and boom, here we are. Years later. In
You're
COVID.
skipping so many things. I'm gonna rewind a bit. Okay, so you had this experience in this not theater place, and then you
Yes.
started auditioning anything. Were there like, I guess, by the time you fell in love with now doing rents in Berkeley, and you're like, oh well, this has all these things you love in one. Were there plays that you've always wanted to play a role in?
The Lion King. Like The Lion King. The Lion King. The Lion King. That has always been number one. Always been number one. That's the first movie
Why?
I ever saw in theaters. It's the first movie I ever saw in theaters. And the moment that I saw the commercial on TV for the production, which is in like 1997 or 1998, I was like, I gotta do that. I want that. I want to do that. It's just, the show feels like a spiritual experience. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It feels
No,
like a
not
spiritual
the
experience.
not the show, not the show.
It's definitely something. Everyone should go see it. A
I
lot
mean,
of
it's
people
still
don't like it.
expensive, right? Like that thing
Oh,
has
yes.
been, like it's been there for
Yes.
years and years. You kept like
Yeah.
I keep thinking, okay, so one time I'm gonna go to New York, and it's not gonna be as expensive, but no, it's always expensive.
Always, always, and it always sells out, and it always does well, and it's
Yeah,
it's been running since '97. Like she's strong. She's
yeah,
never going away.
yeah,
So
yeah.
fingers crossed that I get to do that one day. As far as other shows,
So
though,
what role, Nala?
yes, absolutely. Who are we kidding?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I like that. I like when you just shoot for the top. That's pretty high. I have
Yes.
one question though before we come back to this. Why do you think Hamilton is what it is now?
Like so popular, or I think because it was quote unquote different. Like I think that bringing, hip hop and rap and kind of a more R&B influence into musical theater, because that is the popular music of today, right? It's all our music. So I think it was super, super smart of Lin-Manuel Miranda to incorporate that into a show about American history, right? And like obviously the show takes its liberties and not everything is factual, but for kids, like think about education. It's so brilliant because it's like the kids now are going to want to listen to that and hear that and then do actual research on these real characters. So I think it's brilliant. I think that's part of why it's so popular. It's relatable. I think people, as much as they deny it, they want to see other people on stage. They want to see other, like, not all white cast on stage, even though there are people who are super resistant to that. It's just, it didn't sound like anything. It didn't really fit the mold the way other classical musical theater shows do. And I think that's why it's doing so well. And I think it will continue to do so well now that we're in this, finally, this movement of like, let's not cast white people anymore for everything. Let's see other people. So I'm hoping that
Yeah.
it stays around for a while.
Yeah. Another play that comes to mind. I don't know if you know. I mean, I'm guessing you might know this. Do you know of Slave Play? I think that's what it's called.
I do, and I was in New York when it was playing, and I was gonna go see it, and I didn't, and I so regret it because obviously now it's closed. But yeah, I think it's stuff like that that isn't so safe. Stuff that kind of, I don't want to say it pushes the envelope, but it does in that world. Like, for a person the way that I live my life, that stuff isn't so outrageous. It's not like so outrageous. Oh my God, they're talking about black people. Like that's my life. Like I don't know why white people are so shocked. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think things that are less mainstream, less safe, whatever that means. need a shot. They need a chance. We need different stuff. I'm tired of seeing like, 20-year-old white girls playing teenagers sprouting at the top of their lungs. I'm bored. I don't care. I want something else,
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah,
Are you ever gonna write something? Not a
absolutely.
song, like a play.
Yes, absolutely.
Huh.
Absolutely.
Have you written it?
No, it started. It's not finished. So I have big
Oh!
plans. I have big plans.
Are you
Ah.
writing yourself into it, or are you gonna just direct it?
I I'm not a director. I'm not a director. I don't think that's my wheelhouse. I don't think I have the eye. Like I've worked with brilliant directors and I'm just like, I don't know how to do that. I'm like the vessel, like give me the information and I think I do an okay job at translating, but
Mm.
I don't think I have the director's touch. I think I can write. I would love to cast. Um so yeah, I want to write a one-woman show about my life. And then I have some ideas
Oh,
about yes, and then I have
wait!
some
Isn't that
ideas
scary
about
though?
sort of. Yeah, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of terrifying because
Mm.
I like to think that I'm an honest person. I'm an open book, but I'm not for everyone to read.
Mm.
Um, so I think it will be a little bit terrifying to like lay all my shit out and be like, here it is.
Mm. Yeah,
And then to have people, kind of judge or form their own opinions on my life and
yeah,
my story.
yeah.
So that'll be interesting. And again, as I say, it's not anywhere near completion. Obviously, my story's
Mm-hmm.
still being written, but up until
Mm.
now, I'm just like, there's a lot of shit in there to unpack. There's a lot
Mm.
in there to
Yeah,
unpack.
yeah. But my
Hmm.
approach to that, I don't think I'll ever like do that ever.
Hmm.
The best I've done is just take like sprinkles of my life and just put it in things I've made. And I'm
Yep.
not gonna say what is what, right? But like, it's like, oh, that happened to me, but then I'll let a character experience it in some way
Right.
that makes the story work, but like, oh, okay, when I watch it, I know that's me, but like, actually come and say, this is this. So people that do that, like, I'm one, envious, and two, like, inspired, but I don't know, it's just a very scary thing, man.
It is. It absolutely is. But I want to. I think you have to want to somewhere in you. Like I've always wanted to kind of share my story. So yeah, I think if I can, whenever this piece of work comes out or whenever I finish writing it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to teach through my art and I'm always trying to inspire and if I can just affect some type of change, whether
Mm.
positive, negative, whatever it is, if I can affect some type of reaction in you, then I think my work is done. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll start conversations. It'll, have people drop their jaws. I'll probably lose some people in my life, but that's all. That's all part of the process. So
Yeah, yeah, that is the one thing I'm never afraid of. Like, if I do something or say something, and then like someone, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm just like happy, man. One less person to. I'm serious. Like that's
totally.
one less
Yeah.
person to disturb myself about. Like, thank you.
Yep.
We'll talk when we talk. But like, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. I hate
Definitely.
when people do that. If you don't do this thing, I'm not talking to you anymore. Like, that is not a threat, though. Like,
No, not at all. Like, please leave. See yourself out.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, you find this thing you love, and then you
Hmm.
start, doing it, going to auditions, and uh kind of just soaking yourself into each role you get to play. One of the, I guess, the standout ones which you actually won an award for last year, oh god,
Hmm.
last year anyway, was for the
I
color
know.
purple.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was for the color purple. How did that come about? Not the award first to come to that, but like, how did he get into the play?
So The Color Purple is one of those movies that I've seen like umpteen times from the time I was a kid. And I never really absorbed what it was about, um, because the material kind of flew over my head at that point. Um, But yeah, it was one of those movies, kind of like, grew up in a black household. A lot of the time, it's one of those movies that you just watch or a book that you read. I didn't read the book until I actually booked the job, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd known about The Color Purple. I'd known about the singing role, and I had seen, clips of Cynthia belting her face and being like, "Oh shit, man, like that's powerful. I want to see that. I want to do that." So. I had a conversation with a friend like a few months prior to the show being announced. And he was like, you gotta do this. And I was like, I do gotta do this. So, I met Kim. Kim came to Edmonton while I was in Edmonton. She was doing a dance call for another show. I went into the dance call, not necessarily wanting to book that show. I never go into a job like expecting to book it or wanting really to book it necessarily. I just really go for the opportunity to show my stuff. So I went into dance call, finished the dance call, and I made a point to introduce myself to Kimberly Rampersad, who is the director and choreographer of Purple, because I never had. So I went up to her and I was like, I'm Tara Jackson. I know you're doing The Color Purple. Please remember me. And she was like, oh, I see you. I was like, okay, good. This is good. And then fast forward to the summertime, I was in Charlottetown, and the team for Purple was auditioning in Halifax. And I was like, okay, I had my car. I was like, okay, I can drive to Halifax. I can audition in person. And I was like, whoa, wait. Let me email Kim, because I had gotten her email from a friend. I was like, let me email her and tell her the deal and ask her if she wants me to come or she'll accept a tape. Emailed her, she got back to me. She was like, no problem, send a tape. I'll make sure I watch it. Amazing. Lit. Filmed the stuff, sent it off into the
What did
ether.
you shoot for your audition?
The requirements for Celie were a cut of I'm Here and a cut of What About Love. So I'm Here is like her big 11 o'clock number, and What About Love is the duet that she sings with Suge. So I put that on tape, sent it off into the ether with a prayer. And I had never wanted a job more in my life. I was like,
Wow.
I have to do this. I was like, there's nobody else. It's me. I got to do it. Like, sorry to all of you who think you've got this. It's me. I got this. Like, I'm not that person. I'm not this big-headed, like,
Yeah.
I'm better than everybody. This role was mine from the beginning. Like, in my head, I knew it, and I just had to say that, keep saying it to myself to make it real, because I needed to do this. So when I got the email back a few months later being like, hi, want to do this job? I was like,
Okay, wait. Before you continue, I have a question for you though. Which email felt better, the Color Purple or Berkeley?
Color Purple. Yeah, I mean, it's just different, right? It's different. Different points in my life. I think at that time, when I was auditioning for Berkeley, that was the height of like my, oh my God, I'm going to go do this amazing thing. And then with Purple, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to go do this amazing thing. I had done lots of amazing work in theater already. I had enjoyed every job and every opportunity I've got. But the Purple felt like I get to be me on stage for the first time. Not in a token role. Like, I get to be me. And it was just like a huge deal. A huge deal. So yeah, it was just like, oh, wow, I get to do this thing. Yeah.
Okay, so you get the email. How do you prepare
for the show? Oh my God, lots of work. Like lots of, honestly, because there was no dialect coach. There was no. I worked on the accent because she's from Georgia. It's a Southern American accent, and she speaks like folk speak, like old broken English. So I was like, I gotta get that down. So I worked on that really hard. I worked on memorizing the script before I got there. I didn't touch the music. I didn't look at it. I didn't listen to it. I had never heard any of the songs in the show except What About Love and I'm Here, just because how can you not? And I did that on purpose. I do that on purpose because I don't want to emulate anybody. I don't want to have any ideas in my head other than what comes out in the room with the music director.
Mm-hmm.
So I just focused on the character of Celia, her backstory. I looked at obviously all the material and I was just like, okay, I need to make sure emotionally and mentally and spiritually I'm prepared to step into this role because there are, tougher parts. It's
Mm.
very heavy, very heavy. As much light as there is in the show, there's a lot of dark. So I had to prepare for that as much as I could. And even with all my preparation, it still broke me in half.
I'm
So,
that was the thing I was gonna ask because like yeah, I mean it is rough.
mhm.
It's a beautiful story, but it's rough,
Yes, yes.
and especially for Celie, right? So
Hmm.
like, I mean, at the end of the day, you are acting, right? But still,
Yes.
you are embodying this character that lived in this book and in this story.
Hmm.
How did you prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for that? For Purple.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an avid therapy goer. I love therapy. So I did speak to my therapist before about the role. And she's a white woman, but she's a very good therapist. So I was able to talk to her about kind of my concerns going in, at least on a subject matter front, like not necessarily the racial stuff, but like
Mm-hmm.
a subject matter, of sexual assault and all abuse and all of that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a few conversations with her about it. And then I kind of just was like, I've experienced quite a few of the things that Celie's experienced in my own life. So I was like, you've already been through a lot of this. You have to channel that. You have to go back there to when these things were happening and kind of remember what that was like in order to portray that on stage. And
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly was a really great support in that, where she would say, you just have to touch, like, you have to go to the bottom. And then the more you go there, eventually you learn how to just kind of like kiss the bottom and come right back up so you don't live in that pocket, which was really helpful. So I guess a lot of the preparation was just conversations and, just being honest about my feelings and having a support system in place. It's like my
Mm-hmm.
husband and my family and the cast eventually when I got there. And just making sure, like, yeah, making sure I had support was super important.
Mm. And then you come to Halifax. The Neptune says, "How was the opening night for you, not just for the play?"
Opening night was like, holy shit, we did it. Like at the end, I was just like, oh my God, tears streaming when I came out for my bow, and I looked around at everyone on the stage, and I was just like looking in the audience, and my mom was there, my husband was there, and we had so much support, and it just felt like we did it, and now we've done the work, and now we get to do the work every night. It just felt so good, like it felt so good to share with people.
Mm.
So yeah, it was definitely like team effort. And then personally for me, when I left the stage and I went to my dressing room, I just looked in the mirror and I was like, "You did that," and that was that was it. I had to say it to myself. So just like, you did that. Like you're gonna
Mm.
do this now. So buckle up.
Oh man, Color Purple happened. You guys
Mhm.
had like it was pretty much sold out like every fucking night.
Yeah.
And
Yay.
then and then
Yay.
it was time for the Merritt Awards and you won.
Mhm.
How was that experience?
Honestly, I'm not like a huge like awards are kind of bullshit, and I say that as like respectfully
Why? Why
as
do you
I
say that
can.
bullshit?
Well, okay, like ultimately awards are the great thing about awards is the recognition from your peers that you have achieved something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful thing about that. I love that part of it. The community recognizes your work.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. But really, it's very subjective. It's very like, did you think this person was worth this award? Did you think their performance? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many nuances in a performance. Was it the singing that you really loved? Maybe you didn't like the way they did this one scene. Maybe you didn't. You know what I mean? So it's just like, uh, it's not that they don't matter, because they do, but personally, I don't attach my worth to winning or not winning awards, because
Mm,
they're not indicative of my talent or indicative of my um of what I have to offer. I'm
mm,
grateful that I was recognized. I'm humbled always when people pick me for things. Like, I think that's great. And so it's not to diminish that part of it, but I just think in
mhm.
our culture, in our society, it's not the biggest, like,
So,
achievement.
to you, what is a good indicator of your, I guess, work, ethic, your skill, talent, all that?
I would say, the couple messages you get from people saying, I believed you on stage. Like, I didn't see you anymore. I saw Celie, and I saw what she went through, and I saw how you did that. And it wasn't until it was over that I realized that you were acting. Like, that to me is like, oh, okay, great. So it's translating. Like, you're seeing me journey as the character. You're not seeing Tara Jackson, you're seeing Celie on the stage. That to
Mm,
me is what matters. The messages from people who are like, I've gone through this really hard thing and you portrayed it really well, or you know what I mean? It's
mm-hmm.
that. So yeah, it's not applause, it's not awards. It's like, as I said before, if I can affect change or affect anything in you, a reaction in you, then I feel like I've done my job.
Mm, mm.
Mhm.
What are, I guess, to you, differences you see between acting on stage and acting in front of a camera?
Yeah, I think I haven't done a whole lot of on camera work, and I certainly haven't done any on camera training. So it's just a smaller scale, I would say. So, like in theater, I guess, and maybe if I had gone to theater school, I would be more equipped to answer this question. But in my experience, when you're in theater, you have to act to the back of the house. So that can be, like hundreds of rows back, or you know tens of rows back, and lots of seats and lots of people, and you have to be able to translate your face, your emotion, everything to the
Mm,
back of the house, whether you're
mm,
singing or not. And then
mm,
on camera, it's just like a tiny little lens that you're acting into, and obviously you have a scene partner, so you're acting and reacting. That's all that acting is reacting to something. um so I think things are just a little bit smaller on camera, but they
mm.
see more because it's right up close.
Right, right,
So
right,
it's
right.
like, okay, how do I put all of that emotion that I would have in a song, let's say, and then translate that to a camera? So I think it's just about the nuances are maybe different. Like,
Mm.
maybe on stage you would outstretch your arms and do something really big. It's how do you bring that same feeling and emotion, but in a
A
little
little
tiny
box.
square, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay, okay, okay. So I'm even gonna bring you into a tinier square, cause
Mhm.
you and your friend, and I'm talking about Straight Up Sis, the podcast.
Yes.
Well, you have a lot of fun there, and I listen, like it's like,
Yes,
okay, these two ladies are having a swell time, but but
absolutely.
but then they're also like really personal and really intense and sometimes difficult things we talk about. Like, how did
Mhm.
Straight Up Sis come to be, and how do you two, like how long have you two been friends? Because the chemistry is crazy.
Listen, we know, we love it. So, Masini, who is my partner, my sister, I call her my sister. So Masini and I met actually in Halifax doing The Color Purple.
Oh.
And we kind of just hit it off, like, I wouldn't say right away, but kind of somewhere around opening, like, we just became very close, and it happened very quickly. And then we were spending all of our time together. Like, it was just
Mm,
like, if Tara's somewhere, then Massini's there. If Massini's there, then Tara's there. She was very much like my ride or die support. Um,
mm,
Not that I didn't have other people in the cast, but there was just a very special bond there. She really feels like a little sister to me, which I don't have in real life. So that was really, really nice. So that's how we met. And then we were always having really great conversation. about anything, whether it was about a TV show or like very serious issues or politics or religion or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so during this COVID time, we were like, we had thought of doing like a YouTube channel or something. And then I was like, why don't we do a podcast? Like, let's do that. It seems like a good medium. I love listening to podcasts. So I was like, I kind of know what they're about. And then, yeah, we just kind of started. And I think our first episode was in November of 2020 or December. And yeah, it
Yeah.
just kind of it's taken off from there. We love it.
Yeah. I like, how do you even name your episode names are crazy too. The episode titles are insane. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just, I mean, depending on what we talk about, right? We just like figure it out. We figure it out. Sometimes we take pop culture references. Other times it's just like made up off the top of our head. It really depends.
So when are we getting season 2?
We're gonna start recording soon. So probably, yeah, next month or maybe the month after that. Definitely by the summer we'll have season 2. Yeah.
Ah, okay. COVID shut things down. But like things are at least here. I can't speak for Alberta.
Sigh. Sigh.
But things are slightly opening up in some
Yeah.
provinces.
Yeah.
But like things open up. What are some things you were working on that you think would pick right up once things open up?
Like honestly, nothing. I did a lot of kind of like online singing things throughout COVID. There was a lot around Christmas, like a couple of virtual kind of situations. But I'm so sick of it. Like I'm so sick of it. Not to say that I'm not grateful for the opportunities, but like I'm very much tired of doing Zoom theater, Zoom performances. But unfortunately and fortunately, that is kind of where things are right now and probably will be for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, like if there's any kind of little concert situations happening, all of that is online. I was fortunate enough in the summer to do very distanced singing outdoors, but that has since been outlawed in Calgary, in Alberta. So, yeah, as far as what's happening right now in my world, a whole lot of nothing. Just waiting for stuff to open back up, and unfortunately it really doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon. So I'm like, all right, is it time to get a real job? Like what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Well,
Yeah.
only time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna let you go, but I'm gonna before I let you go, I need to ask this because you've seemed to follow your passions and they've led you to now. And the question is, I'm hoping it's gonna be simple, but this is it. Like, how do you follow your passion when it's difficult? Like now.
Right. I think you have to get creative. So, for me, my passion is music, not necessarily music theater. I love musical theater. I don't want to leave it anytime soon. But ultimately, the base of my passion for musical theater comes from music. So I found myself getting back into songwriting, getting back into learning new instruments. All of that is in music. So I think it's finding different things that you can do within your medium or around your medium to keep you moving forward. And that's not an everyday thing. There are days where I seriously question leaving the industry because it's non-existent right now. And I don't know when it's coming back. So I'd be lying if I said every day is like, I get up and I practice singing and I like, no, I'm not doing that. I've also, there's been a lot of loss for me in this time. So I've had months of just sitting on my couch playing video games because I can't bring myself to do anything else. So I think the challenge is finding those ways to be creative about pursuing your passion And then
Mm.
knowing that it's okay if that has changed. Like, it's okay if you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to do what you were doing anymore. This
Yeah.
time has been a blessing in that way that you can kind of pivot. Like, maybe you've always wanted to be a chef. Well, fucking go be a chef. Like, if that's what you want to do, people are going to eat. So
Mm.
go do that. You know, I think we can't limit ourselves to, I've been doing this for so long, so this is now my only thing that I like to do. I don't think that's true for anyone, right? So, yeah. Does that
Oh
answer your
man.
question?
Yep, you sure did, Tara. Thank you
Great.
so much. I can't wait for the
Thank
next
you.
season of Straight Up Sis. Like, I
Yay, me too.
laugh. I laugh
Good.
because like
Good.
I love things that make me laugh because like when you laugh you're happy. Well, I am. So
Yes, it's good.
and
It's
then
good for the soul.
exactly, and it's the chemistry you two have that makes that show. So yeah, I'm actually
Yay.
envious of it because
Thanks.
like you want to have someone you have that kind of chemistry with because it's like they just get you.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Oh
Totally.
man, Tara, thank you so much for coming to the sanctuary.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Anytime. I'm not doing anything, so see you
You're
next week.
funny.
Just kidding.
Oh man. Oh.